everyone, welcome back to my channel. I really love this lighting. This lighting just makes everything look amazing. If you watched the video before last, you would see that I interviewed a couple of USC students about their experience and what it's like to apply and study at USC. So I thought I'd do my own version of that in this separate video, and then I'm also going to be talking about like my stats and everything that led to me getting into USC. So firstly, I can just introduce myself. My name is Grant Kruger and I'm a sophomore at USC studying accounting with a minor in math. I am involved in the Spirit Leaders. Last year I did competition cheer, which is like a club sport, and then I'm also part of Troy Philippines, which is a Filipino students organization, and I'm originally from Nashville, Tennessee. As far as my academic plan goes with what I'm studying, I want to try to do audit. I'm not sure about any of the other sects of accounting. That's kind of what I'm working towards along with my CPA, so I'll probably sit for that within a couple months of me graduating. First, we can start off with stats. I don't think stats are a very good indication of what someone's chances are of getting into school, but I know some people like to hear it, so I will say those. My GPA was a 97.625 weighted. I don't know what that is on the 4.0 scale because we did 100 points. As far as test scores go, I took the SAT 4 times and I took the ACT once. I think I got a 33 on my ACT, and then the highest SAT score that I got was a 1450. I think when I had applied, they did test optional, but I don't think they're doing test optional anymore. I still submitted my scores because our high school made us. We did do AP system at my high school, so I took 9 AP classes. I took World History, Spanish Language, Physics 1, AP Biology, AP Chemistry, Stats, Calculus BC, Microeconomics, and Macroeconomics. So those were the 9 that I took. Of those APs, I only used 3 for college credit, but I think all of them together sort of helped, I guess, the competitiveness of my application. As far as activities in high school go, I was a part of a lot of activities, but there were just a couple that I was like mainly a part of. I have them written down because I cannot remember them all. Let's see, I was National Honor Society President, National Spanish Honor Society President. I was in marching band my freshman year, and then sophomore to senior year, I did color guard and winter guard competitively. So we did regional, national, and global competitions for that. I was my house captain my senior year when we had implemented the house system. I was a head peer mentor, which was sort of like a big little program that we did at our school. I was a student ambassador, which was like the tour guides. I was a Science Olympiad co-captain, and then I did service opportunities. I put the volunteering down, even though everyone was required to do service hours at my Catholic private high school. I was also in the Spanish club, I was the French club events chair, and then I also did varsity tennis for a little bit there. I don't remember if I submitted all of them on my application. It may have been there.
Also, I forgot to say where I applied, so here's where I applied. Okay, cool, let's move on.
As far as my application goes, I don't remember too much about it. I just remember that USC's was Common App, so our personal statement went to all of our colleges, and then we had a why USC essay, and then we also had a couple of like personality questions. I think for the why USC essay, you just have to be very specific with what you're saying. It has to be very forward thinking. You can't just sort of give them a vague idea of what you want to accomplish at USC. You have to specifically say like what you want to do in your major, what you want to participate in extracurricularly, how what you have learned in high school is going to help you in college, and how you fit into USC as like a puzzle piece. So like what makes you a perfect fit for them rather than just them being a perfect fit for you. And then for your personal statement, like emotionally, it doesn't need to be too draining. I think a personal statement really just says like how your high school or like your life experience has led you to make the decisions that you have made up to that point. So for me personally, I talked about my extracurriculars and my long-term projects in high school that led me to want to study what I'm studying now. And actually, fun fact, I applied to USC as a math major with an interest in pre-health and pre-med. So I wasn't thinking I was going to do business, but I did get into Dornsife. From there, I internally transferred to Marshall, which was probably the smartest thing to do because Marshall, the business school, is a very, very competitive school. So I think going to a little bit more of a vague major helped me in the long run because I was able to get into the selective school and then internally transfer from there. Financially, probably not the best decision because I still did have to stay an extra year, but I at least knew that I was getting the correct credits that would transfer over to my major now. The personality questions are very short. They're like, what's your favorite snack? what's your favorite movie, things like that. So I wouldn't stress too much about them. Other than that, yeah, just making sure you're showing them that you've done your research and that you have demonstrated interest in that school. Going to the information sessions helps a lot too. They do take notice of whether you attend those events or not. And then if you can tour as well, that's really helpful. As far as like internally transferring goes, if you're transferring within like Dornsife, you can just email your advisor and they'll be able to make that switch for you. But if you're switching schools, there's going to be an application that you'll have to do. So for Marshall, they make you take 3 prerequisites: Writing 150, which is a writing class that all freshmen take, Math 118, which is like a pre-calculus equivalent, and you can actually test out of that if you have taken AP Calculus or like an IB equivalent, Econ 351, which is microeconomics for business. And then you also have to complete an application with 2 questions. One of them is why you want to be a part of the business school, and the other one is explaining like any gaps on your transcript or any academic flaws that you may have. I got an A in writing 150. I tested out of 118. I got a C+ in microeconomics, so that was really, really bad. I actually submitted my application before I got my final grade for that, so I wasn't able to explain it. So I got denied the first round, and the second time I applied, I took the time in between my first and second application to take the 2 accounting prerequisites, which are accounting 1 and 2, so BU 80, 280, and 281. And then I refilled out the application, and this time I also explained why I got a C+ in micro, and here I am. So I think that was pretty much all I could touch on for internally transferring. You also want to make sure that you're taking your business classes efficiently, because they cap you off at 3 classes, or if you apply for any more than 3 business classes, they'll cut you off there. So just making sure that you get into the classes that you want. So if you're wanting to do accounting, make sure you're taking accounting 1 and 2, and then like a 3rd business course that you want to take. So I took like business stats. I guess we can like kind of move into like USC experience if you're looking for that and like thinking about committing. The first thing I can talk about is housing. That's a pretty big decision maker or decision that people have to make, just because if you're going to college, you're not only studying there, but you're also going to be living there unless you commute, which is an entirely different topic. But for housing, you have to go into USC with the expectation that you're only going to be guaranteed housing your freshman year. You can apply for housing, but it's a lottery-based system, so the chances of you actually getting housing are very slim. So junior and senior year, you'll probably have to find an apartment off campus. But your freshman year, there's a bunch of different living situations. Some of them were talked about in the other video. There's the Parkside dorms, which is Parkside IRC and Parkside Arts and Humanities. Those are suite style, so it's 8 people, which is 4 doubles, and then there are 2 bathrooms that are shared by 4 people each. But other than that, that's pretty much all it is for Parkside. And then Parkside is also near the dining hall, but as a whole, the Parkside like unit, the dining hall and the dorms are pretty much out of the way for most people. Then there's the Village, which is McCarthy. That one you have to be like a merit scholar to live there, but I've heard it's really, really nice. I've never been inside, but I'm just taking their word for it. I've been inside Kale and Irani though. That is pretty nice too. I think there's 2 doubles, and then there's also a living area, a kitchen, and then a private bathroom. They're also located near the Village Dining Hall and Target and Trader Joe's. And then there's also like the Eastern apartments. I call them the Eastern because they're like the southeast part of campus, and that would be Marks Tower, Party Tower, Burncrant, and New North. All of these dorms are pretty much on like the same like level playing field because none of them have air conditioning and all of them have communal bathrooms, which honestly is not that big of a deal like on both parts, because I lived in Party and I didn't really have it that bad. I was actually placed on a special interest floor for the Latino group. It was called El Sol. I think there was a Latina floor called La Luna. What are those? Are those articles correctly placed? El Sol. Anyways, and that was for availability purposes. I'm not Latino. Same with my roommate. My roommate is also white, and we were both placed on that floor. It was really, really clean. They have someone like keep the hallway clean, keep the communal bathrooms clean. Communal bathrooms were pretty nice as well. It's just a bunch of bathroom stalls, some sinks, and then all the showers are stalls as well. They're not like curtains. Each is an individual stall, and there's like a little like area where you can change too. Then as far as air conditioning goes, like it's gonna be pretty rough for the first couple of days, so I would just recommend bringing a giant fan and turning it on while you sleep at night and opening your windows so that the air circulates. But then when it gets a little bit cooler, it's actually fine. Like you don't really need to worry about without air conditioning at all. As far as those 4 dorms go, they don't really differ other than the fact that I feel like Marks and Pardee are pretty quiet, whereas New North and Burncrant are very, very social. They're all near Everybody's Kitchen and Galen Center, which is on that side of campus, and they're also near all of the restaurants that most USC students go to, so like Subway, Blaze Pizza, Chick-fil-A, Chipotle. They're also near the business schools and both libraries, so those are like a very good location to be at. This year I am living in Cardinal Gardens, which is like an apartment right outside the village. I might do a tour in another video just so you can see what it looks like. As far as roommates go, you can go random. I've heard some pretty good stories about people getting random roommates and them ending up liking it or just, you know, not hating it. Personally, for me, my roommate reached out to me over Instagram because we both did the little like USC class of 2025 page. If you can do that, I would recommend that because you can meet a lot of people over that who have the same interests and maybe your roommate in my case. And I love the living situation. We've gone along fine and we're both very similar in the way that we operate. So just finding a roommate as quickly as possible that you can like get over that initial hump of like getting to know them is really helpful. As far as the dining plan goes, there are 3 dining halls on campus: McCarthy, or the Village Dining Hall, there's Parkside Dining Hall, and then there's EVK, or Everybody's Kitchen. EVK is a bit smaller than the other 2. It's kind of like a scaled down version of Parkside, I would say. Pretty standard food. There's a little like grill section, and there's also like a buffet, dessert, salad bar, soup bar, and like sandwich making station. McCarthy's a little bit bigger. I think McCarthy's my favorite. I feel like the quality of food is the highest there, and there's a little bit more options than Everybody's Kitchen. And then I would say that Parkside has the most options, but again, it's pretty far out of the way, so I do not go there very often. And I think freshmen, for the dining plan, they get unlimited meal swipes. I don't think they get dining dollars, but as you go into like your sophomore year, and if you get an apartment plan, that has dining dollars associated with it as well. As far as things I wish I knew about USC, I wish I knew about like the diversity stats. I would guess that'd be something to like research, especially if you are a person of color. It is a predominantly white university, so there's a big population of white people. As far as location safety goes, it is in South Central, so it's not like awful, but it's not the best location it could be. We're obviously not, you know, in Westwood, so, but I feel like any city school, you just need to be aware of your surroundings and making sure that you're, you know, looking up from your phone. Socially, I would say a lot of people are very, very academically driven, but they're also very, very socially driven, so you can see the same people in your physics lab at a party on the weekend. But you also don't necessarily need to be that social to have fun and make those friends. I would say joining extracurriculars is another helpful way of meeting people. I guess getting over that initial hump of meeting people during welcome week, just getting out of your comfort zone is something helpful to do. Even just for 1 week, getting out there so that you can meet a bunch of people, and then eventually they'll connect you with their people, and you'll finally meet like friends or a friend group. I will say that welcome week gets very cliquey, so people will sort of make their friend groups as soon as they meet people. Like within 2 days, they'll have their friend groups and they will not be open to meeting other people. So I would just say insert yourself as quickly as possible. And even after people have made their cliques, continue to assert yourself, because this isn't high school. Like, people are going to open up their friend groups eventually. Class diversity at USC is really great as well. We do have a lot of professional schools like Annenberg, SCA, and Marshall. We have a bunch of other schools as well, and you're allowed to take classes outside of your major. So if you wanted to take classes in the dance school, but you're a biology major, you can do that because USC offers that option to you. Another thing I would like to mention, this is similar amongst all schools that are located in hot weather. People don't care about what you wear. Like, people will literally wear leggings and sports bras to class. Like, it's hot outside and people do not care. I would say the standard outfit for people at USC would be like shorts, an oversized shirt, or like a crop top and baggy jeans, and then any form of a white tennis shoe and a tote bag or a hair claw. Yeah. Like, that's pretty much like the only outfit that people ever wear. If you're worried about like presenting a certain way, like, people don't care. People don't care what you wear. As far as like general college advice goes, with like professors are very hit or miss. So I would just say build a relationship as fast as possible. If you need to go to office hours, do that. If you want to meet them face to face, that's also an option, or even just emailing them. You don't necessarily have to meet them in person, especially if you're a little bit more introverted. Also, make sure you're doing it their way. Professors are gonna have a very specific way they want work done. And even if you operate a certain way, you're gonna have to like adapt for them because they've been doing this longer than you've been a student probably. Like in my writing course, I had a professor who was very like specific about the way they wanted people to write. I started writing the way they wanted me to, and then I got the grades that I wanted, which is unfortunate, but it's just something you have to do. You're only with them for a semester, so if you just cater to what they want, you'll end up with the grades that you want. It's not that big of a deal. A piece of advice I would give is to not rely on anybody. At the end of the day, cannot rely on anybody but yourself. When it comes to like scheduling classes, doing your own research, don't rely on your advisor too much. When you're needing a favor, just make sure you follow up. And the last piece of advice I would give would be to stick it out, just because there's always going to be like this air of doubt and like imposter syndrome that follows you when you're entering college, especially if you're going to a selective university. Like for me personally, when I entered USC in like November of my fall semester of freshman year, thinking that I didn't even want to be in college and that I wanted to drop out, but I stuck it out for like a couple more weeks, and then as soon as it like January hit and I was in class, I was like, wow, I love college. Like I want to be here and study. Something that you can't say about everybody, like obviously you're going to want to make a decision to either transfer schools or drop out altogether, and those are like perfectly viable options if that's the pathway you're going to go down. But I would just urge you to stay where you are for a little bit longer and just see where it goes. Obviously, like know when you want to walk away, but give it a little bit extra time. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But other than that, like I think that's all. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified next time that I post. All my socials will be linked down below, and good luck for anyone that is committing to schools or applying.